Hi, I'm Robin Birkin, an ex-corporate marketer turned online business owner. I took everything I knew and created a six-figure life coaching business in the margins between nap times and a 9 to 5, and I'm here to share with you how you can do the same. Tune in as I share the raw and unfiltered truths, big lessons, and practical tips to help you build and grow a sustainable bread-winning business online that is both peaceful and profitable. Here, we dive deep into all things online courses, funnels, audience growth, and so much more. If that sounds like the things you want to learn, then welcome to Signature Online Course Secrets. Let's go.
So, hello. Have you seen what we have done here? We've changed the name of the podcast to something that is more representative of exactly what it is that I teach, because I've had so many people over the last 6 months come to me and be like, do you only teach courses? And the reality is that we put online course in the title of the podcast, but what I do is actually so much wider than that. My specialty really is helping you step out of one-to-one services and grow a one-to-many business that feels incredible, helps you work part-time hours without a giant team, and is centered around, as you know, creating, launching, growing, scaling a hero signature offer as sort of the bread-winning bedrock of your offer suite, and leveraging things like premium profit drivers on the back end to really make your business incredibly profitable whilst also keeping it very, very simple. So hi, welcome to the new name. And we have a competition that we are running right now. So if you potentially stop the podcast right now where you are and go and leave me a written review on Apple Podcasts, then you will go into the draw over the next 2 days to win a $100 Amazon gift voucher. So we will choose one person at random with random number generator who submits a written review of the podcast to go into the draw. If you would like to enter the draw, all you need to do is submit that written review to me, and then so that I know that it's you, screenshot that and DM it to me on Instagram at Robin Birkin. You will go into the draw. We will be drawing this in just the next couple of days, so please do make sure that you go through and do that. It would mean the absolute world to me. It helps the algorithm in, the podcast gods know that this is a show that is worthwhile for other people to listen to, but it also helps other listeners know what this podcast is about, whether it's helpful. So if you feel like this podcast has been helpful, if you feel like just this episode is helpful, which it's incredibly tactical, then I would love for you to do that. And I would love for you to go into the draw to win that $100 Amazon gift card. So speaking of podcast changes, speaking of being in my authority, as you know, that I am on this sort of low ticket, create some really truly binge-worthy resources for you. And I have been in my low ticket zone for the last couple of months and will be still till the end of the year. Like, I'm committed to putting out a series of really well optimized, incredible low ticket offers that solve very specific micro problems in your business and help you get really quick results. And one of the dominating thoughts that I have had living rent-free in my brain every time I've been going through the sales page, going through the stats, all of those things, is that this is why I teach what I teach. And what I teach is step 1, create the signature offer. Allow that to dominate and become the hero of your content strategy, your authority and expertise. Have live launch that offer frequently, so until your audience is like at the point where they go, who is the person that, helps with baby-led weaning? And they're like, oh, it's Catherine. That's the point that you want to be at, is when people can name drop you by name. And you do that by having this one dominating signature offer and then live launching that frequently to move people through that messaging, and then get to a point where everything is working really well, it's predictable, it's sustainable, it's repeatable and laid back, like lazy launch style, not, full bells and whistles. And then you look at what's on the back end? And then step 3 is you look at, okay, well, what are low ticket offers that could potentially lead into that. So I'm at sort of what I call stage 3 of these low ticket offers. And what I can tell you is, number one, they're not ridiculously profitable. When I go through my sales forecasts, when I look at my capacity, some of you may know I've just put out a behind the scenes beta VIP pre-sale of a new offer that's going to be launching in September. It's going to be, I think, my perfect offer. It will become my signature offer. More will be revealed in September. But when I look at my sales forecasting, I tapped out in the Peace and Profit Mastermind. We are making shifts and changes to the Mastermind, and it really is for people who are at $50,000, $100,000 plus in their business and wanting to get to that $250,000 to $500,000 revenue mark where you are fully at bread-winning wages with a part-time business. So we are really, over the last 18 months or so, elevating that space up to have more sophisticated conversations. But I tapped out. Like 15 to 20 is my maximum absolute capacity in that space because of the absolute depth that you go to in that level. And low ticket offers, I can tell you right now, like there is a lot of work. Maybe there is potential. I'm not convinced yet that they are particularly revenue generating products in your business. And I know so many of you are tempted. We're talking today all about failed launches. One of the first thoughts that you will have if you have a failed launch is, oh my God, the price is too expensive. I can tell you right now, the spoiler alert is that in this episode, I actually really don't mention price once as being the thing, which doesn't mean you can't close a launch and then make a discerning decision to alter the price. But lowering the price is what could potentially land you with a business that runs in the negative rather than positive profit generating. And low ticket offers are one of the things that I see most often sabotage launches into products that are profit generating. So you might have an online course that's $250, $350, $500, $1,000. You might have higher ticket service. Maybe your signature offer is more one-to-one based and has more of a high touch service in it, and that's, multiple four figures, but you have these low ticket offers that are for many reasons competing with your higher ticket offers and sabotaging ascension. But what they also are is almost just as much work as a signature offer or a core offer. I am here in the depths. I'm reviewing so many statistics. You spend so much on Facebook ads. Facebook ads are like a non-negotiable for low ticket offers just to break even, and you are continually looking and iterating things like sales pages. I once heard a Facebook ads coach / agency manager say that when he has low ticket offers with his clients, they take up to 50 iterations, and I believe it. So people who sell low ticket offers are like, oh, this is how you get instant trust and then build a list of buyers. And I'm like, yeah, but I still download freebies and I'm a buyer. Lots of people, it doesn't mean that people who download freebies don't buy. Yes, you may accelerate the trust process. So people may purchase in 1 to 3 months rather than 6 months, but there is so much complexity that goes along with it, and you could have spent whatever it is, that 6 months optimizing the signature program that you had, focusing on top of funnel and getting enough people in your leads, right, in order to offset any of that potential, stuff that's happening. So all business models can work if you work them, but one of the core reasons why I work with people to create the signature offer first, optimize, get the signature offer working first, is because that is the offer that will position you as an authority and generate revenue in your business so that you can make it fully sustainable, predictable. You then take that signature offer and behind the scenes add in this layer of beautiful profit. And at that point that is happening and you have long-term recurring revenue in your business is the point that you can be like, Cool, let's turn on the tap on Facebook ads. Now I have the time because my other products that are profit generating are optimized and iterated, have clients in them, have social proof. I am now an authority in this. I know how to deliver it. I can generate predictable launches. You can then play and experiment, invest 6 months into lower ticket products, which generally if you get a 2 return on ad spend, you're doing really, really well. If you break even, I don't even count them in my revenue and for the year and what it is that I want to generate, because by and large, I view them as part of lead generation. So, rant over. Let's say you've had a launch of your signature offer and it was a little bit wow. Let me coach you through what to do. So in the mastermind and in my higher ticket containers, I work with people who have launches that are their best ever launches that take off. And I work with people who have had launches that have been underwhelming and didn't perform in the way that they wanted. That is reality and inevitability of business, that you will have launches. You will have offers, you will have seasons of your business when it feels like what you are doing is not working. And a sign of emotional maturity in business is that you can go back and look at the data and then make informed decisions about what the next step is rather than spiraling or catastrophizing. And we have all been in that space of spiraling and catastrophizing. So I don't want to make you wrong if that is the space that you are in, but I want to let you know that you will flex that failure muscle again and again and again. And it gets easier as you go and as you build that sort of maturity in your business, you will start to step more into the problem solving space and more into the calm space of okay, well, I'll launch again, or okay, what is the next lever I can pull? This is not as big a deal as it should be. And so that comes with time. So I want to reassure you that if you're like, oh my God, nothing is working right now, it's okay. You are exactly where you are meant to be. You are experiencing something that we all experience. We've all had the mindset spiral and we've all been there. And I find sometimes as well, what we get to this point of a launch not working, especially when it's our second, third, fourth launch. So sometimes the first launch goes really, really well. You get this false sense of security, I'm a boss, this is great. And then the second, third, fourth launch don't go the same way because you launched a different way, because the people who purchase from your offer the first time around are probably a little bit warm. They're probably those super fans that you have. And then the second, third, fourth time is when you're like, oh, here's the lesson. The second time you launch, you'll be like, that didn't work quite the way I thought it would be. Then you'll try again. And then the third time you'll be like, this is the lesson that I really should have learned the second time. And then it starts to sink in and you're like, oh, right, gotcha. And then that's where you start to learn the lessons and then everything starts to pick up if you stayed the course and actually truly did learn the lessons. So if you are in this space, if you just had a failed launch, I am with you. You definitely have permission right now to have a pity party and to sit and be like, oh, this is hard. Entrepreneurship is never as easy as we think it will be. And also entrepreneurship, nothing ever happens in the timeline that we think it will happen. Everything takes longer. So seeing you in that, you've come out now of the pity party, let's say, and you're like, Robin, give me a plan. Here's what I would coach you through what to do. And here's what I look for. So when I'm in the mastermind and I go through a launch debrief with people, there are literally 100 touch points, as an example, that I will look through. There's so many things that could have been the thing that let our launch down. They really are a little bit of a choreographed dance when you are getting to that sort of 6-figure launch mark. But really what we want to do is identify the 1 to 3 major things that may have let our launch down and then commit to shifting, changing, iterating those for the next time. So what I'm going to do is speak to you today about 5 things that are probably the top 5 things that I see in launches that aren't working right now. And these are the things that I would fix and how you might fix them. So number 1 is almost like a mindset thing. And that is, did you have realistic expectations and understand the benchmarks and conversion rates that you should have had? So launching in 2025 is a different game to launching in 2020 and 2021. The market has changed. Does that mean like that people aren't buying? No way, man. People are having their best years yet. I'm coming out of this financial year having had my best ever year ever in business. People are still buying when your messaging and your execution is on point. And I'm not saying it has to be perfect, but when you have like a few core levers that you do really well, 2025 is definitely a great year. But 2020 and 2021 was almost like this year where you could get away with like a 30 or 40% launch. You could sweep people away in the momentum and hype of a launch. And people had, we were getting whatever they were called, the grants from the government. People were at home. People were almost like this end of days, like I'm ready to make a big shift in my life and I have the time and the capacity and these government grants to kind of drop in and do that. And it's not like that at the moment. People now know about online courses. And the online course industry is still booming, but people are also very discerning with their funds. So they want to know that you are the right person. They want to know that you will get them the result that they want. They want you to clearly articulate why your offer is the offer for them and why it's better, that you understand their problem. And so we're just in this space at the moment where I'd even say we're a little bit back to 2018, where people were like, what is going on here? Like, is this really worth my time and investment? So when we look at conversion rates, what conversion rates were you expecting from your launch? So most often I will see people have a figure in mind for how many people they want to welcome into their group program. So maybe you wanted to sell 10 places in your group offer. And one of the things that happens, and I'll speak to this in a moment, is people are like, great, I want 10 people in my offer. Okay, cool. I'm going to send out the live launch emails and I'm going to do my sales page. But they kind of don't spend enough time reverse engineering the top of funnel and how many people you need in your audience in order to get that. So if you want, live launches will typically convert at 2 to 5%. It all depends on how much effort you put in, how established your offer is, so many different factors. But let's say we say 2% as an average live launch, which is very reasonable, possibly even slightly conservative. You have a mid-ticket offer, you do a live launch, and you would expect 2% of people to convert. So in order to have 10 sales, you need 500 people in your launch runway. And so when I look at a launch and I go through a launch debrief for someone in the mastermind, the number one thing I'm looking at is, right, well, what did the pre-launch look like? What did the launch runway look like? And were your expectations on benchmark? Like, were you on benchmark for what it was that you expected? And did you just execute, let's say there's 5 things that you need as part of any launch. Did you go through and execute those according to the formula? Or were you like, nah, I didn't do a conversion event because like I couldn't be bothered with that. I'll do that another time. I didn't really invest in any ads to build my list and I only posted twice on Instagram because, I'll get around to that next time, but then feel very disappointed because you didn't get 10 people in the launch. So we have to have a look at, were the expectations realistic? Do you have a very, very small audience and had expected to have 50 people in your course launch, but you were prepared to go live on Instagram, etc., post frequently, send all the emails, do the conversion event, all of the things, like you were prepared to put in the work. And this is super common, but you were like, well, but I don't have the money to invest in Facebook ads yet because, I'm not at this point of earning thousands and thousands of dollars per month. Well, then the question is, okay, well, did we need to readjust our expectations and the timeline that maybe 10 was overly ambitious for us at this time? You might be in the zone of being like, I'm getting consistently 25 people in my launches. I'm prepared to seek out my people organically, but you've kind of tapped out your audience and you're seeking 50. The full stop on that is you need Facebook ads. Like, the launches are not going to fix themselves until the point at which you say, okay, well, actually, I'm going to learn Facebook ads, learn from someone who knows Facebook ads, and then use that as the next step in my business. It's an inevitability. So looking at your expectations, are they realistic based on the benchmarks and the data that you had? And it's completely okay. I want to make a huge point of this. It is completely okay if you're like, well, I wasn't prepared to do that. Well, I'm not ready to invest in Facebook ads. And I am like that as well. This is one of the things that I think about when I look at myself and the business I run, which is a multi-six-figure business in 16 to 20 hours per week with a lot of time off as well for school holidays. And, I've definitely had sort of the six-figure launch, but when it comes to live launching, I am very much in the camp of I will look at, let's say I'm mid-launch and I'm not on benchmark for a webinar. Let's say I want 500 people in my webinar, and then I will get halfway through there. I will look at what I had set as the goal for how many people I wanted on the webinar. And let's say I'm only at 30% of what I needed, or let's say I'm at 50% of what I had anticipated by this stage of my live launch. And then I will say, if I want the result of, like whatever many sales, let's say it's a 5% conversion rate and I want like 25 sales, that's 500 people on the webinar. If I had 25 sales in my mastermind, the mastermind investment currently is for 12 months, $10,000. That'd be a $250,000 launch. Like, that would be smashing it. That would be an unrealistic conversion rate, I would suggest, for the mastermind. But I would have to then look at, okay, well, what am I prepared to do in order to improve that figure? You have to be willing to do anything. You have to be willing to stay up all night. You have to be willing to invest in new content channels. You have to be willing to maybe spend more in Facebook ads, whatever it is. But you have to shift and pivot in order to get that result. Sometimes, though, I'm like, well, I'm not willing to do that. So therefore, I readjust my expectation. Well, what do I think is actually a really great figure for this launch based on what I am willing to do? And I readjust my expectations. I rarely feel disappointed after a launch in business because I know that nothing hinges on one particular launch, for example. However, if you've readjusted your expectations as well, you're so much less likely to feel disappointed anyway. So then the second thing, which is super common for business owners who are at 50 to, let's say, $150,000 to $200,000 in revenue, you probably got a leads problem. It's probably a top of funnel leads problem. Actually, if you're under $50,000, with certainty I can say that it's a leads problem. Your top of funnel just does not have enough people going through it. So you need to consider either increasing your organic input and your effort in terms of showing up. Maybe you want to go on a podcast tour, whatever that looks like. Maybe you want to hire affiliates and start borrowing other people's audiences. Maybe you are like, okay, well, I'm going to have to bite the bullet and invest in Facebook ads now for this launch. It is both inevitable and enduring that this is a problem that you will need to solve in your business if you want to reach the result that you want to reach. So often, very frequently, people will come into the mastermind or be inquiring about the mastermind, and the number one thing that is not working in their business isn't their offers, because they've already reached like $50,000 to $100,000 with the current offer suite that they have. Maybe there needs to be some tweaks and we need to shift into a more one-to-many business. But a one-to-many business shifts a lot more of your time into marketing. When you have a one-to-one business, you might coast along with a lot of referrals and a lot of people coming to you through word of mouth, through things like Google, just searching Google. When people search Google, they have a high intent to buy. And then when you switch to a one-to-many model, you have no choice but to start prioritizing the leads and the volume and the marketing that is coming into your business. It needs to be a priority. And what people will do, what I see people do when they are self-sabotaging, is perpetually live in a space of that launch didn't live up to my expectations. The issue was a top of funnel leads issue, but then they will launch again having not fixed that issue because they feel stuck, but then end up with another launch that didn't meet their expectations. So ideally in a launch, we want like a minimum of 300 people into live launch cycle. However that looks for you in terms of output, build, borrow, buy, you have to reverse engineer those numbers and say, okay, well, what is the plan here of what I'm going to do? And until you reach that point of having like meaningful numbers of people in your webinars and things like that, you need to be focused on growing your audience and however way that comes. So often, if you just fix that one thing, that's going to fix your entire business. And so you have to make the decision. If you're like, yeah, but I'm broke, I need money first before investing in Facebook ads, well, the answer is time. Like it's either time or money. If you don't have the time, you need to invest the money. If you don't have the money, you need to invest the time. It's as simple as that. There's no magic bullets in business. The next thing that I will typically look at, so if I'm going through your emails and if I'm going through your sales page, if you're a $500,000 business, I highly doubt that this is what you're doing. But if you're at that $50,000 mark, I reckon 50% of you are doing this. Chat did you dirty is what I'm calling it. Far too many women who are building part-time businesses are leaning on chat without the true discernment and ability to prompt effectively to understand exactly how to create both exceptional emails and exceptional sales assets like sales pages through ChatGPT. Can ChatGPT accelerate creation of all of those things? Absolutely. But you have to understand first what goes into a sales page, the structure of a sales page, how long your sales page needs to be. You need to understand things about sales pages like creating open loops and how to leverage internal urgency. You need to learn how to be a really great storyteller if you want to leverage ChatGPT and also create assets that convert. Because I would almost rather you had a average email / sales page than have a sales page that was created by ChatGPT where you didn't have that advanced knowledge of number one, sales assets, and number two, prompting through ChatGPT. It will kill a launch. And I'll tell you some of the reasons why. Sales pages, unless you prompt step by step of exactly what goes into every sales page, or even write the sales page and then get ChatGPT to look at, think specific little things like, without rewriting this, what are some other ways that I can make my course modules be more curiosity and outcome driven? That's the kind of thing. So you might go through bit by bit. If you just go, hey, ChatGPT, this is a little bit about my offer. Now, boom, 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 create me a sales page with a very simple prompt. I can guarantee you the sales page is not going to be anywhere near as long as it needs to be. It's not going to touch on the specific conversion points that you need to have in your sales page. It will not be in depth anywhere near as much as it needs to be, and it will not truly speak to your Cloud9 clients with the emotion and depth that you need in your sales pages. This reminds me the exact reason why I had someone join the Mastermind 12 months ago, which was because I create pierce the heart sales pages. ChatGPT can't do that. And the more you speak from the heart and pierce someone's heart with emotions in a sales page, if you have a $27 offer, that's a very logical purchase. If you have something that's $500, $1,000, $5,000, there's emotions involved in that purchase. So ChatGPT is going to do you dirty if you are creating your sales page solely through ChatGPT and just copying and pasting the results. ChatGPT has very formulaic sentence structures. It does things like title case instead of sentence case. If you are particularly not advanced at using prompting software, specifically ChatGPT, fucking emojis everywhere, like I can't deal with them. But you are really missing out on that storytelling flow and being able to speak with depth about the problems and the solutions that your Cloud9 client is looking for. AI is not a human being. It is a piece of software. It cannot discern what is right or what is wrong. It cannot feel human emotion. It cannot live in specific, really detailed situations. All it can do is read from some content that already exists on the interwebs and then spit out something that is along the lines of that, which is also not going to really differentiate you from anybody else on the web because it's the same garbage everyone else is putting together. The way that you differentiate yourself from anyone else in the market is by speaking as a thought leader with unique thoughts and opinions, unique sentence structures that match who you are as a person, deep storytelling, and details about exactly what makes you so different to all of the other noise on the internet. So when ChatGPT is creating your sales assets, it's creating noise. So then when we look at the emails, same, but what I also find if someone's going through a launch email with ChatGPT created email sequences, I often find all of the emails kind of say the same thing and they're not particularly unique in what it is that they're saying. Like I read through them and I'm like, there's no real journey. They're all kind of saying the same fluff. And when you are creating a live launch email sequence, it is, number one, very formulaic in the way that you will put together your assets and things like that. They shouldn't take very long to write at all, but every single email that you send, I don't care if you send 5 emails per day during your live launch, but they all have to have a specific purpose that is worthwhile saying that your Cloud9 client needs to hear. Each email needs to have a purpose. So when I'm looking through ChatGPT, it's kind of all this fluffy language, like it's time to change, make it your best year yet, blah, blah. Each email actually needs to follow a specific flow in your live launch. And so I would rather you created these using, if I just said to you, here's the 10 emails you will send over a 7-day live launch, focus on this, and I just gave you one sentence. I would prefer you to write that poorly than spit out some emails through ChatGPT. The next thing that I would look at is probably your offer, and most specifically in terms of your offer. I mean, it could be all sorts of things. I would hope that you have already validated your offer. You've put that out through an ascertain launch, which is what I call it. You've validated that demand exists. You've had people purchase and go through that curriculum. But then when I come back to the offer, so let's say it's validated, it is, at its core something that people want. I look at your offer promise and outcome. And often what I will see is that it's kind of vague. Like you are not ballsy enough to put a tangible transformation on that offer that is really clear. Sometimes I will look through the offers and I'm like, I don't think this actually speaks to exactly what you're kind of teaching and speaking to. Unlock your best life. Like, what the fuck does that mean? So we need to be really clear in that 1 to 2 sentence offer structure. If someone was just to read like the name of your offer and then that, ideally I don't feel that it needs to include every single element of this, but ideally someone would know what style of container it is, how long it goes for, who it's for, and exactly what they should be aiming to achieve / walk away with by the end of your container. That level of specificity is what you want in your offer promise. And if you don't have that, that's where I feel that we're losing a lot of people. We want to have that specificity in exactly what the problem is that we solve in our signature offer, and that all should be conveyed in the offer promise. So then the last thing, the number 5 thing that I would typically look at, that I think is like one of the big things that people often get wrong in launching, is the conversion event. So you either didn't have one or you had a challenge or a webinar, and we really need to look at the way that that was put together. So a couple of things that I see in conversion events. Number 1 is that people are over teaching or under teaching. And this is a balance. This is even something that sometimes I struggle with creating webinars and conversion events. You want people to get to the end of the webinar and they should be thinking in their head, I want to solve this problem and I need to solve it urgently, whatever the problem is. And I'm ready for the solution. Like, this is my urgent need. And then you present the offer and they're like, oh my God, this is exactly what I wanted. So that level of kind of messaging, but they also need to feel like it was valuable without feeling like, cool, I've now got homework to go away with. I'm going to try these strategies that she's given me and it's going to be great. So when we have a webinar, we don't want someone to feel like they've had answers and they're now going to go and implement and then maybe circle back to our offer. We want someone to be like, oh my gosh, that was amazing. Like, aha moments galore. This is definitely the right path for me. This is definitely where I've been going wrong, and I'm really motivated to solve that problem now. So getting that sort of teaching flow right is one of the first things. The next thing that I see is what I call a wobbly pitch. So pitching is a core part of a webinar. The whole purpose of a webinar is to be that segue between free and paid. So it's going to be like 50% free, 50% like, here's the details about my offer. And so what I see sometimes is like 2 slides about the offer. I'm like, no, you need to be presenting your offer for like 15, 20 minutes. At least. Like, you need to be able to fully articulate and provide people with the full information about your offer. If your offer is not a like straight up logical purchase, like a $27 offer, it's not like, oh, that's no biggie. Oh, that makes sense. Here's the 5 things that are included. Check. If your offer extends beyond that and is transformation based, which any signature offer should be, people are going to have questions. They're going to want to know the details. And there are different types of buyers that you need to accommodate. So some people will buy based on like social proof. Who else has joined? What does the momentum look like? What's going on? Other people will want all of the full details as to how this is going to support them in business, all of the questions about delivery, etc. So if you're not touching on all of those points and ensuring that you are giving people the full details that they need to make a discerning and informed decision, which is so important in 2025, you're going to lose people, and you need to be confident in delivering it. The only way you get confident doing it is just by doing it 100 times. It is a muscle. It is like you've got to, you don't wake up tomorrow and just become an ultra marathon runner. You wake up tomorrow and like half-heartedly walk around the block and then keep taking baby steps and doing it again and again and again and again and again until you get more confident doing it. And that's exactly, I find, what pitching is. So what would it look like? What kind of person would you be if every week for the next 20 weeks, you actually just ran your webinar live? You'd know what questions people have. You'd be able to even be like, and you might be thinking, is this container long enough for me to get results? And here's the answer. And then people are like, oh my God, that was just the question that I thought. And you know that because you just run it like 20 times and people have been asking that question like every single time. So you get really good at doing that. It's the same as when people have money mindset issues. And sometimes I'll say, just go and open and close your bank account like 3 times a day until you feel super neutral about looking at the figures. And people will do that and then they'll get it to a point where they're like, it's nothing. That's the point that you need to get to. You only get to that point of feeling really confident in your pitch and being okay with selling your offer, I feel, by doing it. And then the last thing that I also see quite often is like in slides format. So one of the things that I always think about when I'm doing something like a webinar is that people have really short attention spans and people can zone out. And one of the ways that I like to keep people engaged, there's so many things, that we can do throughout the what of what we're teaching. But one of the ways that I find keeps people engaged is when the slides are continually moving through and there's momentum. So think about it, like if you're stuck on the same slide and they're having to really, really concentrate on what you're saying because you've just got one slide, but you're talking for like 10 minutes per slide. It's so easy for someone on a screen to get distracted, to get really tired, to fatigue by that. Whereas, thinking to the way that TV and everything works these days, thinking to things like Instagram and, we create reels that have to capture people's attention in 2 to 3 seconds. It's the same for webinars. So having a fast-ish moving slides flow that keeps things moving, that visually as well as at an audio level teaches people, I find super valuable for helping retain attention. You don't want a million words on a slide. You want it to be really easy and digestible for people to consume. And so typically, like if I'm doing a webinar and I'm aiming for 45 minutes, I want to have like 70 slides as part of that. And so you will know now if you've been running webinars, because you might be like, oh shit, I only had 20 slides. I would have, if I'm doing a 60-minute webinar, I'm going to have 90 slides. So that would be the next thing. And that would be like a number one thing that you would use to temperature check. Am I giving people enough information? Am I holding people's attention? All of those things. So those are 5 things that I would look through if you have had a failed launch. If that has been so helpful, please give me a rating on Apple Podcasts. Go submit a written rating and then screenshot that and send it to me at Robin Birkin. I would be so grateful, and I will make it worth your while because you'll go into the draw to win a $100 Amazon gift card. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll speak to you next week. Bye.
Another episode on the books. If you'd like to continue the conversation and get more super savable tips, come and find me on Instagram at Robin Birkin. Otherwise, make sure you're subscribed, and I can't wait to see you next week.